In today's video, I thought that I would talk about why I decided to settle down and live in Colombia, to start a farm, a homestead, I don't know, whatever buzzword you want to call it, because it seems like homestead is like the buzzword of like the past few years. Anyways, I just wanted to live on a piece of land, grow my own food, and have animals. So why did I decide to choose this life living here in Colombia? So why did I decide to choose to live here in Colombia and start a farm or live the more rural countryside life? If you're new to my channel, my name is Sarah. I left the US in 2018. I used to be a nurse, and now I live and work on a farm in rural Colombia. So, yes, I think, so when I was looking to buy property, I looked all over. I did not just look in Colombia. I looked in the US. I was like on Zillow. I was like, when I went to visit my family, I would look for properties around like them, and like I was looking at like Kentucky and Tennessee, because I grew up in Kentucky. So that is the land, that is the more of what I know. So basically I have been living on farms. I lived on farms until I was like 21, 22. So living on a farm is nothing new to me. I just grew up, and I was like most typical farmers' kids. You know, I was like, I don't want to be a farmer. I'm going to go to the big city, get a job. 15 years later, like 20 years later, I am back on the farm. So I did look at buying land in the US. I looked all over, and the biggest things that I was looking for to buy in the US was land that I could live off grid. That was my ultimate goal, still my ultimate goal, to be more self-sufficient, to have more food sovereignty, to have more control over the food that I eat and put into my body. So I noticed when I was looking, it was a lot harder to find places in the US. There are like maybe 10 states that are good. I know 10 is a lot. I know, because I moved to one country, but the country I'm from has lots of way more land than where I moved. But in those 10 states, like finding in Kentucky was probably one of the best ones, and one of the best places to move if you want to live off grid, or, you know, be more grow your own food, and, you know, have less rules and regulations. However, there are still rules and regulations. And I've noticed a lot of people right now talking about, you know, farmers losing aid, farmers losing money, and people not allowed to have backyard chickens. And this is one of the huge things that I noticed when I was looking. It was like in some zones, in a certain state, in a certain county, you could only have 5 chickens. You could only have 1 of this, 1 of that. So like, I kind of went crazy with all the rules and regulations, and I was like, you know what? I just want to live somewhere where my neighbors don't care how many chickens I buy. So that is one of the things I love about being here in Colombia. And this might be very controversial, and you might not agree with this, and you might think that because I live in a third world developing country that my freedoms are limited. And I can tell you that I feel on my own piece of property, I can do whatever I want. So I feel more free living here. For example, I was asked, all my sisters have septic tanks. So I have a septic tank. When I moved in here, there was like a septic tank, but it was a plastic bin, and it was like what you use for water, and that was what they were calling a septic tank. It wasn't a real septic tank. It would have been better off if it was a compost toilet, which I eventually want to put in. So we went into town, bought a septic tank, and we're like, hey, who can put this in for us? And some guy's like, you have to call this guy, he does it for everybody here. So I was like, oh, do we need to get a permit? Do we need to make sure he has this? Or, you know, all these questions that you would do if you lived in the US. And my guy's like, what are you talking about? The guy's we're gonna buy it, it's gonna get delivered, he's gonna come tomorrow, and he's gonna install it. That's it. That's it. I did not have to go to some city council board, or, I don't know, state, county governance facility place thingy to have permission to install a septic system on land that I have paid for. So that, I was like, I like this. I asked my sisters the other day, I'm like, did you guys have, in different states, I said, did you guys have to get permission and permits to put in your septic system? And they're like, yeah, duh, of course we did. And then you have to pay. You have to pay the state government. And what do they do with the money that you paid them? Probably not improve anything around you, because when I was living in the U.S. and I paid high taxes, I still pay high taxes. I still pay taxes in the U.S. because I'm a U.S. citizen. I don't know. Who knows where it goes? Everything, you know, it just feels like everything just goes somewhere, but you never see improvements anywhere. Here, at least, I'm going to have to file taxes here too, by the way. So don't think that I'm not paying taxes in 2 countries. But I think there's like a way that if you pay in 2 countries, I don't know. I don't know how it works yet. I'll tell you when I have to do it, which will be, I think, in like October. But anyways, at least here, the roads are being fixed, and you see like little small improvements. But it also depends on where you live, on how they fix things up. Okay, back to why I decided here. Also here, you can tell I'm in my backyard. Well, this is like the line of my property, which is, my property is surrounded by water. There is water everywhere. There's springs. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna like drink this water. If I drank it, I would want to like purify it. But the water that I have hooked up is hooked up there to a spring coming out of the mountain. So I don't have to pay for water. I don't have to worry about having a well dug. I don't know if this is legal in the U.S. Someone can tell me. But when I moved onto the property, it was already hooked up. And I'm not gonna take it apart and be like, is this legal? Do I need a permit? Blah. The water's clean. It's good. I drink it. I don't get sick. If you want to come here and make sure my water's clean before you drink it, you can boil it and then put it in the fridge. It'll kill everything. But there's no fluoride in my water. There's no chlorine in my water. There's no like chemicals in my water. Yeah, so I don't have to worry about having, you know, to pay for water, or worry about my water being like put a bunch of stuff in it. Another thing, I want to get goats because this is perfect. I live on a mountain. Goats like to climb, goats like to eat things, and it will clear my property up. I'm not going to worry about my neighbors complaining because I live in a rural area, and people, I don't have to worry about someone being like, oh, your goats are annoying. Because this is a farming country. Not just the area that I live in, but everywhere here, people have animals, like video, and they were talking about things about homesteading that they wish they had known beforehand. One of the things was having, you know, cars or trailers to move your livestock. In the U.S., you need trailers to move your livestock. It's really expensive. But here, they just move them with, someone takes a cow and leads it, and then someone goes behind and like hits the cows, or like, you know, makes a noise like to move the cows, and then the cows walk up the road and go to another pasture. So they do things like the old school way, walking through the street, walking through the town. People still ride horses. You know, there are horses everywhere. People have horses tied up outside the bar. That is a very, very normal thing here in Colombia. It's not like, oh, it's a touristy thing. No, it's local. Like my neighbor rides his horse to the bar. I don't know if he goes to the bar, but there's a bar and there's always horses. Then my other neighbor is hauling sugar cane and coffee on, like, he's riding a horse and he's hauling 2 horses behind him. I think they're mules. But anyways, you get it. Like horse, mule, donkey. They're like, it is common to see them riding them into town. There's not like a town ordinance that says, no, you can't bring your horse to town. It's like, no, we encourage you. This is like how their life here is, and it's how things were back in the day, and it continues, the traditions continue. So yeah, so if I want to buy a horse, ask my neighbor if I can put it in lease his land, because that's what a lot of farmers here do. They have big plots of land, and you can lease the land and put your animals there, and then when you want to go to another plot of land, you lease another plot of land, and you walk the cow, the donkey, the horse to another piece of land where there's more grass. So that is very common to do here, and I really like it because I think it's just, I don't know, it's a reminder of, like, you know where your food comes from, because you see the cows walking. Most of them are most of them are beef cattle, you can tell. Most of them are beef cattle. So you go into town and the guy at the butcher had just gotten a pig slaughtered. So you know you're eating, the pig is from here. It's not coming from far, and you see them. So, yeah, but I don't know, but I will never raise animals to eat. I know I do eat meat, and then it's like, people are like, oh, if you eat meat, you should be able to kill it, but no, my animals will all be pets. Chickens will be for eggs, and I just love them. So goats will be to clean the land, and milk, if they have babies, I will milk them. for land. I know, and it depends on which. I know there's like so many controversial things, and people get so angry about all this stuff. But it's like, it's how the world goes. It goes, you know, it's a chain. It's like the bear eats the, I don't know, whatever bears eat and hunt. You know, like my dog. Oh, getting chickens is gonna be rough though, because my dog, he will kill chickens, so we are gonna have to train him. But that's the thing, is he's a carnivore, so he sees chicken, he sees food, so it's like the whole circle of life. So it, you know, and that's one thing about living on the farm, especially living in Colombia. You see the circle of life. You see the food. You see food eating food, and then you eating the food. Like, it just goes in a circle. I'm rambling. And so yeah, so the big thing for me is why I moved here. And I know I have gotten comments about this before and saying like, oh, isn't Colombia, you know, they tell you what to do and you can't have guns and you can't have this. But I'm just going to tell you, I feel safer living here, especially where I live now. I feel more free to live and do what I want on my property. And I've never had a problem with feeling that I'm restricted in any sort of way. Not like when I was looking at property, or even like my sister, like her neighbors complain about her goats all the time. Her neighbor got rid of her goats because the neighbors complained about the goats, even though she's in a farming community. They can't have a composting toilet. They can't have this. They can't have it's like all these rules and regulations telling you you cannot have. And here they encourage you. Like people, they sell chickens in town. They have like guineas in town. They encourage you to have a garden. They encourage you to, you know, because there's so many farmers around. This is what people make their money doing. They sell plantains. They sell coffee. And, you know, it's an encouraged, it's not disencouraged, it's not, you know, they're not dissuading you, or they're not telling you don't do that. They're telling, that's like, you know, they don't have all these rules and regulations. For example, also, whether or not you agree with them, it's just how this country is. And I came here because of that, what it's like for someone like me who wants to grow her own food, who wants to raise animals, and to sell eggs. If people want to buy my eggs, I sell my plantains, I sell my coffee, and I'm not a registered business. I'm not a registered anything. I just take it into town. My neighbors take the plantains. That's it. It's not like I had to go get a piece of paper saying I'm legal to sell you this, this, and this, and they've come and checked this. No, it's just part of the culture here. It's part of how I think the world should be. I like it much better because I don't feel restricted, and you know, it's just feeling a bit more free where you live. And I know someone's gonna be like, but you can't have a gun to defend your land. I wouldn't have a gun to defend my land if I lived in the U.S. Well, this is not politically related. I'm just not going to. That's it, plain and simple. And I don't get involved in politics. I can't stand both sides. I am against very harsh rules and regulations. I think the government does a very poor job at governing. And whether or not the government here does a better job, I don't know, because you know why? It doesn't affect me, because I can still do what I want on my property. In the U.S., you see a small town has a governing this and that and rules and all these things and blah, 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 blah. Anyways. And, oh yeah, so I was going to say, so we're thinking about, we're going to build maybe, I want to build at least 2 cabins on my land on the other side, because I want a little cabin at the bottom of the hill to be like a completely off-grid, like, real place that I can hang out. Because my ultimate goal is to be 100% off-grid, not reliant on anything. And I can do it here, and I don't have to worry about telling them, applying for permission to get solar panels, or to get, I don't know if I'm going to get solar, but applying to tell them I'm going to have a compost toilet. They don't really they do not care if I have a composting toilet. And I don't have to get a permit to build a cabin on my property. I don't have to go pay somebody to come out here and tell me what I can and can't do with my land. And so that for me is huge. Now, if I'm going to build a huge mansion and have a bunch of construction people and like something that I'm not going to do and can't afford anyways, then yeah, I have to get permits. But that would be like something absolutely ridiculously huge. Now, if I'm going to build a house like what I have here, yeah, I would probably have someone come out, check the land, check this to make sure it's stable and okay, and I have permission to like you know, because I don't want to build something that's going to fall down. But if I'm building a cabin, a little mud hut, like a little earth building, or like a little A-frame, a glamping cabin, no, I do not have to get permission to build that. And I will, you know, hire people who know what they're doing, and that will be what we do. It's not going to be a big, you know, to do, and then they're going to come out here and tell me I have to leave my land, and I can't live here because I can't live off this, I can't have this, I can't have that. So yeah, living here is much more, and I knew that about coming here, but it's not just here, it's like this in a lot of other countries, because I went to other countries and I asked, can I do this on my piece of land? If I own a piece of land 100% outright, and it is my piece of land, can I do A, B, C, and D? Can I drink the water? Can I put in a septic tank? Can I put in a compost toilet? Can I put in solar panels? Can I be 100% off-grid? And most of these countries that I have gone have been like, yeah, it's your land. You can do what you want. But as soon as you go to the U.S., it depends on the county. It depends on the county. It depends on the state. It depends on how angry your neighbor is at you. It depends on, I don't know. In the U.S., you don't even know, no one even knows their neighbors anymore. I mean, I know every single one of my neighbors on this road, mainly because I give them all plantains. But they're also curious, and they want to know who just moved in because they want to know their neighbor. So it's a lot more of a community like thing. I never have to worry about starving here. Everything grows. That's another thing, the reason I moved here is everything grows. I'm struggling with a few things, but it's because once you move to a tropical climate, and you are learning to grow in a tropical climate, it's different. We have different types of problems. Like, I have too much rain. Maybe you don't have enough rain. So, you know, the checks and balances, it always is going to even out to, we all have problems growing things. Well, maybe you're an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. But I can grow. My bananas grow, my coffee grows, my oranges are finally coming in. And yeah, so things are growing. My squash is growing. It just takes time, and it takes to learn the property. It takes learning where the sun is. It takes learning, you know, to composting and what part of the soil is better, and can I grow in clay and bamboo and guava. Because here, it's funny, because here I'm not competing against the, like in the US, you're competing against deer and rabbits eating your crops. I'm not competing against that. I'm competing against the guadua taking over my land, or the, you know, the weeds taking over, and little critters. But the critters are much different here. They're not, you know, I don't have to protect against the deer. But I do have to protect against my dogs digging everywhere, which is like probably the worst. So yeah. Yeah, so, you know, I also wanted, another reason, like, this is like probably way down at the bottom of the list, that I wanted to live in a warm climate. Well, this was a huge reason, but the real reasons were the less regulations, and I wanted to live in a warm climate. It's warm right now. I have a long shirt on because I was a little chilly earlier. Now it's hot and humid, and I'm probably gonna start sweating in a minute. But, and I wanted to live where it's jungly and warm, because I love the jungle. I would live in the middle of the Amazon. I mean, I don't like snakes, so I probably wouldn't live there, but if I could live somewhere like this is why I will live here, because I love this part of my property. Even though you can do absolutely nothing with this, except for come down here and put your feet in the water, or enjoy the trees and sit here and, I don't know, just enjoy nature. So this is like, I don't know, I love the jungle feel and the being in the jungle. Somebody told me on one of my videos that I don't live in the tropics. I was like, okay, okay, I don't know. It doesn't get below, I don't know how low. Maybe it'll get to, the lowest we get is maybe 58 degrees, and the highest is like 100. It is always humid. So I don't know what the definition of tropics, I'm pretty sure, is like stays within a certain temperature and humidity, and you can grow it, you know, like this. But I could be wrong, maybe not. Okay, maybe it's subtropical, but you know, I live in the Andes Mountains. But Colombia is really close to the equator, and most equator countries are tropical countries. So I would say I live in the tropics. But yeah, all year growing season basically, which has its own challenges. Because things will just keep growing, and then you have to be like, that's not growing. It's been there for 6 months and has no fruit. I probably should pull it. Because in the U.S., depending on your season, sometimes some people only have 3 months growing season, and or if you have a greenhouse. I'm gonna build a greenhouse. I don't really need one, but if it gets to like the whatever, like the high 50s, 60s, I don't want anything to die because I want to grow like everything. So yeah, no, the reason I can grow almost anything here. I mean, not everything. I'm gonna figure it out though. Yeah, so that is the main reason that I decided to move and homestead and farm in Colombia versus my home country. That's it. And you know, I love being here. So, and I love the beauty and the green of the country. And I like rain, so it's perfect. It rains every night. But so that's it. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm sure some people are gonna come at me in the comments, but okay, that's fine. It's free platform to say what you want. So, well, sort of. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.